Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, fellow rivals, to another episode of Game Rivals. I'm your host, Maximilian X, coming to you from the interwebs as always. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching this new episode of Game Rivals. We're coming to you with a lot of news. A lot of stuff has happened in the past couple of weeks. A lot of good, a lot of not so good, a lot of things that we kind of already saw coming, and some stuff that we did not see coming at all. So let's just start with the beginning. Start with where we left off the last episode, where we were speculating as to what is going to happen with Xbox. And basically, Xbox put out a podcast on their Xbox channel where they talk about going multi-platform. Essentially, they're saying they're releasing only 4 games this year, and then nothing. But this assume that next year they're probably going to add more games. If they look at this experiment and see it as successful, if they're making money off of it, I'm assuming they do, because I'm pretty sure they already recouped the costs from these developments, and they just want to get a little bit extra money out of this, especially something like Sea of Thieves, which is coming to PlayStation 5. So they said there were 4 games coming, and the 4 games are Grounded and Pentiment, which are coming to PS4, PS5, and Switch, and then Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves, which is coming to PlayStation 5. Assuming Nintendo comes with a new system, which also we're going to be talking about in a little bit, we might see the other 2 titles appear there, because it's not coming to PlayStation 4, the Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves. So I'm assuming that the fact that it's not coming to PlayStation 4 is the same reason why it's not coming to Switch, which is a very interesting choice, because we've heard rumblings and seen proof that they are gearing up for like a Switch release, or at least a Nintendo release for Hi-Fi Rush. So who knows what is up with that, and why they decided to wait at least. But at least now we know the 4 titles are coming. Grounded, I think, is already out on Switch, or is coming out really soon. Let me double check that real quick. It's coming out April 16th. So April 16th, we get Grounded. Pentiment, I can't figure out the date for that right now. But I think it's coming out around that same-ish time, maybe a little bit later. So yeah, that's a big deal. The fact that the Xbox head Phil Spencer, and Matt Booty, and I want to say Sarah Bond, president of Xbox. Might have her name wrong. I don't know. But yeah, they were talking about it during that podcast. And they were also talking, like, they were kind of little hinting about new hardware coming this year, like 2024. And more rumors have popped up that seem to uh, uh, like corroborate that information that they shared, that there's new hardware coming. So who knows? Who knows what's up with that? It could be that leaked Xbox Series X revision that was leaked like 7, 8, 9 months ago, during the trial for Activision Blizzard. And yeah, I mean, that thing was basically a redesign of the Xbox Series X without a drive, which is all digital. Um, so yeah, if that is the case, then we'll see how it's going to be, how they're going to price it, yada yada yada, stuff like that, and what is going to be like the driving force. What's their messaging going to be for that particular system? Especially since Phil Spencer has iterated multiple times since during that podcast and after that they are still dedicated to hardware, um, and also dedicated to physical release, kind of, sorta. The wording is very specific about it, and yeah. So if we're looking at this from a consumer perspective, right? You have the consumers that are like, we're big Xbox fans, and like, oh boy, did the Xbox fans lose it? And I'm talking more about the adult Xbox fans, like the 30, 40-year-old men who were like, some were lampooning it a little bit, some were making a little bit fun of it, but some of them were really taking it very bad that Xbox exclusives were coming to the other platforms. And Phil explained why they were doing it, and why they chose the games that they chose. They chose games that were out for a year or longer. They were looking at games that had basically run their course on both Xbox and PC. So that makes sense for the titles that they chose, because Pentiment and Hi-Fi Rush are smaller titles, so that makes sense. Grounded is a community game, and it lives and dies by the community. So if they want to have that and Sea of Thieves keep a strong, either keep the strong community that they have or improve it, because it does support cross play. I don't. They did also talk about stuff like cross save. I don't think we've reached that point yet, but at the very least, Grounded and Sea of Thieves will support cross play. So that makes sense, right? You're trying to expand those particular communities. How are you going to do it outside of PC and Xbox? Put it out on other systems. So that makes sense. At least when it comes to Grounded and Sea of Thieves, being available, especially Grounded being available on multiple systems, and Sea of Thieves being available on one additional system, is a big thing. And we'll see how it goes, right? We'll see how it goes. We'll see if people really do like buy Xbox games on non Xbox hardware, how much of an impact that'll be for Xbox as a brand, and for Microsoft as a whole, as a company. If it does well for them, I would expect them to continue to do stuff like this in 2025, where they look at their older portfolio and see what would fit on other systems, which would make them a lot more money. Because at the end of the day, it's the money game that everybody's playing. I mean, come on, let's be real. So yeah, some people were disappointed, maybe butthurt, and all that stuff. And it's understandable, but at the end of the day, they are a business. Like, I don't like, it's not surprising. I personally think it's actually a pretty good idea to do it in this way, right? In this fashion, you ease people into the idea, and then when it's good, you keep iterating on it and doing more and more stuff eventually. So for now, for this year, when I say this year, I'm assuming they mean this calendar year. It's those four titles. Don't expect any other titles for this year. We'll see how this year goes, and if it went well for them and if it was a success, I'm pretty sure they'll be bragging about it. And then next year we'll probably hear, or at least by the end of the year, we might hear, oh, we're expanding the program, right? And we're gonna bring more games to like other platforms, and stuff like that. So that it's interest. It's an interesting time. It's an interesting time to be a gamer. It's an interesting time for the game industry. Um, it's also a little bit of a disappointing time in the game industry, because so many people have been losing their jobs in the game industry. And this week we found out about Sony letting go of 900 people from like various studios, and even closing the London studio, which is responsible for like the iToy and stuff like that, and like making VR games. And I think they did some Move titles as well, like PlayStation Move, and like Move stuff for the PlayStation 3 back in the day. And they used like London studio usually does like the technology stuff, like I think they also did SingStar. If anybody remembers that like karaoke style program game, whatever you want to call it, like SingStar was pretty fun, like at parties. So that's a little bit disappointing that a legacy studio of like 20 plus years is just gone. And that was a UK studio, so that's another bunch of people like out of a job in the UK. My heart goes out to all of them. Like, yeah, I mean, Naughty Dog lost people. Um, Naughty Dog, Insomniac, and dang it, what are they called again? Naughty Dog, Insomniac, and Guerrilla Games. All Lost People, and Fire Sprite, the devs that made Horizon, the Horizon VR game, which kind of sucks. Um, it's talented people doing the thing that they love, and then yeah, because Sony did not do as well as they did the year before, um, are having to let go of people. And of course, some projects got canceled. Apparently, they were working a lot on like a lot of projects, especially Firelink was apparently working on some other service games, and those got canceled. And yeah, they're still working on an original IP. We don't know what that is yet. It's still like unannounced, but they are still working on that at least. But they were also working on other projects which got canceled. This includes stuff like I don't think they were working on that specifically, but like don't forget there was like this leak from Insomniac that happened like a month ago, where it was listed that they were working on a Spider-Man live service game that got canceled. So that's one of the games that got canceled. That's part of that list. But there are also a bunch of other live service games that also got canceled that we don't know about, outside of the Spider-Man one and the Naughty Dog one, the Last of Us live service game. So yeah, that sucks. Um, I hope they land on their feet, but let's be real: the game industry has been letting go of more and more people this year. They did last year, and it just honestly, I was hoping that it would have ended with the year change, but no. Apparently, it's still going strong, which sucks. I don't know what the landscape is going to look like for game devs in the coming year. Nobody knows. Nobody's. It feels like nobody's safe. Um, so I hope that at least if you're at a development studio, you're being treated well, and hopefully your studio is doing well enough for you to not lose your job. Um, yeah, it's crappy times. It's crappy times to be like a game developer. At least when you're part of a big studio, it seems like, especially if you're part of a big studio, it sucks. Um, yeah, so yeah, that's a little bit of a little bit of a bummer. So let's pivot. Let's pivot to some more lighter news. Last week, we had the Nintendo Partner Showcase, which was rumored for like many weeks, and that finally got released. Partially, I think that got delayed also because of the Xbox thing being leaked, and then having them to address it. They probably had like some like agreement that Nintendo would show off Grounded and Pentiment, so that's why they didn't say during the podcast what games were being released, but it was basically leaked and confirmed. So yeah, so the Nintendo Partner Showcase. I will say this: the Nintendo Partner Showcase was not for everybody. Just like flat out was not for everybody. It is a partner showcase, so they technically didn't show off any first party titles. If I'm to say it a little to say it correctly, they did show off some Nintendo published titles, um, but not a lot. Just like one Nintendo published title, to be more specific. But to me, it's a doozy. Because here's the thing: this was more. You can tell that this is going to be a year where we're going to see a lot of partner showcases, just like we did back during the pandemic in 2020. So expect more of these partner showcases for the foreseeable year, except for maybe the direct that they'll do during Summer Game Fest or whatever. Since E3 doesn't exist anymore, rest in PC 3. But yeah, so a few other games that I want to talk about. I already talked about two of them, Pentiment and Grounded. Those were shown off at the Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase. A bunch of other games that they showed off was Fantasy Life I from Level 5, a new Super Monkey Ball game called Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble, which is cool. Um, Apparently, THQ Nordic is working on a remake or a remaster of Disney Epic Mickey. called Disney Epic Mickey Rebrushed. Okay, looks good. Coming to Switch. I can't wait. It's a really cool game. I have it on Wii, and yeah, it's a cool game. I kind of want to like talk about that one a little bit more because that one has a really interesting development history. At least when it was initially made by basically a studio that was headed by the maker of, I want to say, System Shock, Warren Spector. Like if you don't know him, Google him. Warren Spector, cool guy. Actually met Warren Spector once at GDC Europe back in, I want to say 2009 or 2010. I have to double check. I think it was 2009. Super nice guy, super chill. I think he gave me his business card. Um, but I'd have to look for the business card. It would be somewhere here in my office. Then we have Penny's big breakaway from the developers that made Sonic Mania, making their own new game. Since apparently they don't want them to make Sonic games anymore because they're too good at the job. Suika game is getting multiplayer DLC. The offline multiplayer DLC is live now. You can buy it for like a couple of bucks, like maybe like 230, 250 or something. And then there will be an online multiplayer DLC, which is coming in a couple of months. I think it's like coming out at the end of May 31st. So yeah, that look forward to that. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't do that one first and the local. Sure, whatever. It's getting multiplayer. It deserves it. It has a bunch of modes in there, so check that out. Unicorn Overlord from Atlas and Vanillaware. Oh my god, this game looks so good. Like if you love video games that have beautiful hand-drawn art styles, you can't go wrong with Vanillaware. Unicorn Overlord fits that bill. It is a tactical RPG. So like if that's a bit of your thing, you can't go wrong. The demo is out right now, so you can check that out. Super cool. They're putting out a port of Monster Hunter Stories on Switch, which was originally on the 3DS. The sequel came out on Switch, so it makes sense that they are porting the original game to Switch as well. World of Goo 2 is a sequel to World of Goo, obviously, which is a indie game that came out on the WiiWare, like original WiiWare. So yeah, the art style looks a little bit flash gamey, and that makes sense because the original WiiWare like had a space limit of 50 megabytes or something like that. Very tiny, so it makes sense. But World of Goo was such a good game. I actually beat that game, I think 100%. Back in the day. So I'm looking forward to this one. It's coming out May 23rd. Shin Megami Tensei 5 is getting a enhanced edition, kind of, sort of like that. We're getting Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection from March 14th. They showed off a bunch of other games, but the ones that I really want to focus on is Pocket Card Jockey Ride-On. Now, I'm going to be honest. When I saw that, when I heard the music, I almost broke down in tears with joy because this is a 3DS exclusive. They didn't sell a hard copy, they only sold it online in the eShop. I don't know if this is getting a physical release. I hope it is because it is so worth getting 100%. It's 15 bucks. If you're still a bit curious, you're not 100% sure, download the demo. That's out. Check it out. It's horse racing, but you play solitaire to do the horse racing. It is so much fun. It's made by Game Freak, so you know there's at least some pedigree behind that. I know that the Pokemon games haven't all been great lately this past generation, but at least with this, I can guarantee you will have a good time. If you enjoyed solitaire even a little bit back on your Windows computer, this brings it to a whole new level and you'll have so much fun with it. Can guarantee that for you. That's basically the max seal of approval right there. And then the other game that they showed off, the last game that they showed off during the partner showcase, which is weird because this is a Nintendo published IP. This Nintendo owns that IP, so it's kind of weird. The developer is Akira, so it is technically not being developed by Nintendo, but it is being developed for Nintendo, and that is Endless Ocean Luminous, which is a new sequel to the Endless Ocean franchise, which started off on the Wii. It had a sequel on the Wii as well called Endless Ocean. Oh gosh darn it, I forgot the actual name. I know that the American name was Blue Oceans or something. Um, but in Europe, it was called Endless Ocean 2: Adventures of the Deep. Um, yeah. So Blue World, sorry, that's what. So in the US, it was called Endless Ocean Blue World. It didn't have the numeral, but yeah, the first. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Like, here's the thing with Endless Ocean. I'm gonna do a quick explanation as to why Endless Ocean is so amazing, despite the fact that it came out on the Wii, the Wii graphical powers and everything. So the thing with Endless Ocean is this relaxing sim game, Sims-ish kind of game, where you go diving in the ocean, and it's Endless Ocean, and you just chill. You're diving with fish and different other sea creatures. You take pictures. There's no stakes. You do score points with like the pictures and stuff like that, and every time when you go diving, the fish change, like the fish that are available to see, that changes. It's randomly generated and stuff like that, and like, even though you'll go down in the same location, that shit is randomly generated. It's different. It had online play, very limited online play, and what was great with the Wii version, at least with the first game, is that the first game allowed you to use the SD card, and it allowed you to put your own music on it, and you can make your own playlist in the game with the music on your SD card. So you could just put on some straight up banger songs to chill to. Like, if we had lo-fi girl back in the day, and we had like the playlist that we could download onto an SD card, it's basically doing that, putting that in the game, and then just chilling with like the sharks and like the sunfish and like the octopi and all these beautiful sea creatures, just relaxing, taking photos. If you're online hanging out with some of your friends, which is great because this new version, Luminous, is gonna support 30 players online. I don't think it's gonna support custom soundtracks, which would have been nice. But when that came on, honestly, at that point, I couldn't even hold it in anymore. Like, the tears were basically on, like, just like they were practically like, well, they didn't roll down my cheeks, but they might as well have at that point because I know the day before they did the partner showcase, I was randomly just thinking about Endless Ocean. Not even that it would appear as a thing or whatever. I was just thinking about, man, I wish they would do more Endless Ocean. But considering that it's been so long since the last game, Endless Ocean 2, came out in September of 2009. It is 2024. Yeah, that ship in my mind had sailed. It was gone. Like, I wasn't even thinking about that being a thing anymore. It was like, it's been too long. Nintendo doesn't care, because if they did, they would have already done something with it. Yes, they started caring somehow. I don't know why. I don't know who at Nintendo Japan was like, hey, um, we still own this IP. Are we doing anything with this? Like, Akira's still there. They're just kind of like doing tech stuff. Can't we just have them make a new one for us? While we're still figuring stuff out about our new system. So I guess they did that, and now we're getting a new Endless Ocean, and I honestly couldn't be happier. It's coming out May 2nd. I need to take that week off and just be like, this is my week of relaxation. The world needs to just like not exist. It's just me, the ocean buddies, and maybe some other friends that are willing to take the dive with me and just explore a vast world of just tranquility and ocean goodness. It's just it's so good. It's so good. Oh, I almost forgot. They did also announce some Nintendo Switch Online games for the Super Nintendo, NES, and for the N64 from Rareware. If you remember those guys, there were 5 games that were shown off that are available right now. So on the NES, it was Rattle and Roll, um, was Snake Rattle and Roll, RC Pro Am. On the Super Nintendo, it's Killer Instinct and Battletoads and Battle Maniacs. And for the N64, it's Blast Core. I will give a little caveat because apparently Japan got Mother 3 on the Nintendo on the Game Boy Advance app. So people were not happy with that one. When people found out about that one, people flipped, of course, because they're like, "Where's Mother 3? Where's Mother 3?" To the point that they were actually like bothering Shigesato Itoi, the director of the game, and Reggie of all people. It's like Reggie hasn't worked at Nintendo for nigh on what, like 5 years now, maybe longer. So it's kind of weird that they're bothering him of all people. Like, go bother Doug Bowser about that. Oh, no, 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 no. Don't do that. Don't do that. Otherwise, it's going to be traced back to me. Just do it politely if you're gonna. Just, okay? Anyway, so that's out. And all that and more. If you want to check it out, you can check it out on the Nintendo's website or any other outlet that is covering gaming news has like a full compendium of the list. So that's that. And then the final thing that I want to talk about is the Pokemon Presents that came out this week on February 27th during Pokemon Day, as they usually do. They started off by rattling off a bunch of updates to their mobile games. I am not even going to touch that. If you want to check it out, go check it out. That's not even the most interesting part. The most interesting part came at the end, where they showed off a teaser trailer for a new Pokemon game made by Game Freak coming out in 2025 called Pokemon Legends ZA. And it is based in the Kalos region. It seems to be centered around urban redevelopment of Lumio City, which is the main hub city from Pokemon X and Y, so the 6th generation of Pokemon. There are a lot of questions around this one because people are assuming that it only takes place within Lumio City, which, yeah, the way it's presented, it kind of strongly hints that that's the case. Because at least with Pokemon Legends Arceus, they showed off immediately that it's semi-open world. There is the hub town, there's the hub village of Jubilee Village, but there's also like the wilds where you just go into, see wild Pokemon roaming around, just chucking your Pokeballs and doing Pokemon battles on the fly. Which is I played Legends again and it's so good. It's so good. Scarlet I'm sorry. Scarlet and Violet could have been so good. And then they just squandered it. Don't know why. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted. The main thing is they announced the new Pokemon Legends is taking place in the Kalos region, or at least in Lumio City, being redeveloped. It might hint. So people are thinking this is taking place in the future. It could be. It could also still be taking place in the past. But the presentation of the teaser trailer makes it look futuristic, and I think it's because they're using Blueprint Blueprints Blue to show off the city and what they're working on. So I think that people might be conflating that with futuristic. It could be, but it also could be like they're going futuristic. But at least from the early sketches in the trailer, in the teaser trailer, it doesn't seem like they're modernizing per se in the way that you would expect. Maybe modernizing in the way of like contemporary modernization, like how places are being gentrified and stuff like that. And remember, Lumio City is based off of Paris. So even if they do something like, oh, it's just the city, if they basically make Lumio City a living, breathing city with people and Pokemon and apartments and parks and just random street battles and catching Pokemon in the streets and on the rooftops and on the gosh darn Prism Tower, that could still be interesting if they pull it off. But I feel like there's more to it than we think. And I don't think we're going to see any of this game anytime soon because they didn't specify that it was going to be early 2025, like they did with Legends Arceus, where they said it was coming out early 2022 and it ended up coming out in January 2022. It still says in the trailer that it is a Nintendo Switch title, which makes sense. What if that is the case, then don't get your hopes too high. Just keep them in check. I'm trying to keep mine in check myself. I have to listen to my own words as well. I have to keep it in check. So, what I will say is this. When they show off the game, I'm going to assume that this is going to be a game that has to be able to run on Switch at the very least. If they're aiming for Switch, they might do the same thing they did in Legends Arceus, where Lumio City is a hub town, a very big one, but still a hub town, and you still have to like go to a menu and then go to like the other locations in Kalos that way. Because that's honestly the only way it's gonna work on Switch. If they're gonna do something highly detailed. They could also do what Hogwarts Legacy did, where the Switch version has loading screens and the next gen versions did not have loading screens. They could do that as well. It is a stretch, it is Game Freak, but if they are actually taking their time, because remember, they finished development, like core development of um, Legends Arceus probably in December of 2021, if not November 2021 at the earliest. So that means between then and the time that they made extra content for Pokemon Legends Arceus, because remember, they also made extra content for Pokemon Legends Arceus that came out 6 months after the game's release. If that was a separate team that was working on Pokemon Legends, and that team started working on Legends ZA from 2022, from let's say early 2022 to now, currently still working on it. That is that's only 2.5 years, you guys. That's not a lot. This game is supposed to come out next year. So either this game comes out late next year or it comes out early next year and they only spent like about 3-ish years on it. Because that's the math, guys. That's the like at the most they've spent at least 2.5 to 3 years on it. At the most, at the least, they've spent 2 years on this game so far. So if we want them to be able to do it, let's hope they do take their time and at least release it around what they usually do, which is October or November of 2025. That's our best guess. That's our best guess. Mostly because I think that they are going to release it so that it also coincides with the new Nintendo console, whatever that's going to be. What, assuming what the rumors are saying about that is happening. So yeah, wait, I didn't talk about that, did I? Last one thing is then what I was talking about earlier. The Switch successor has been delayed to apparently to 2025. We don't know when. Some saying around March next year is when it's gonna release, or after March next year is when it's going to release instead of end of this year. Apparently, Nintendo had some things that they want to push back, and they wanted to have more titles ready for the launch, which makes sense. You know, you want to have a stacked release. I mean, let's be real. We had some amazing games when the Switch launched. We had Zelda. We had Bomberman R. We had Snipper Clips. Does honestly, do people still remember Snipper Clips? It's a shame because again, another great title that probably not a lot of people played because I don't think it supported online. I think it was only local co-op. I also called it the couples game because it's best played with two players, and if you have a significant other, it's a perfect game to play with them because yeah, it's a good game to play with them, and I'll just leave it at that. So yeah, with that said, I think that is everything that is fit to play. Yeah, that is everything that is fit to play. All right. So if you've been with me through this entire time, listening, watching, thank you so very much. I appreciate you. You are awesome. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button. If you like this episode, if you want to see more episodes or the latest episodes as they go live, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell button. That helps a lot with the algorithm and stuff like that. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcasting app, we're on every podcasting app almost available. Um, if you can think of it, we're there. Our home is on Spotify, but we're also on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Overcast, Pocket Cast. You name it, we're probably there. You can also always reach out to me on Instagram, which is at Maximilian underscore X. Jeez. You can also find me on Twitter at Maximilian, although I'm not really on there as much. And you can also find me on Twitch because I stream a couple of days a week. It is very unpredictable when I stream, but I try my best to stream as often as I can, which is twitch.tv/Maximilian underscore X. So with that said, thank you again so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. I have been and always will be Maximilian X, and I'll see all of you beautiful rivals next time. Later.